Jade Carter had always preferred the world of books to the chaos of high school hallways. She wasn't invisible, just quite a girl with her nose in a novel and her heart hidden between the pages. But when an anonymous love letter found its way into her locker, one crisp September morning, her well-ordered world tilted. At first, she thought it was a prank. The delicate cream-colored paper, folded neatly with elegant cursive scrawled across the top, felt too personal to be real. To the girl who sees the world in stories, it began. Her heart thumped against her ribcage as she read on. I see you in the library, the way you tuck your hair behind your ear when you're lost in thought. I wonder what it would be like to be in your world, even for a moment. Would you ever let someone in? Jade's breath caught in her throat. She had never received a love letter before, much less one so beautifully written. Who could have sent it? Her mind raced through the possibilities, but no one stood out. She wasn't the type of girl people noticed. Except, it seemed, someone had. Enter Blake Reynolds, the school's golden boy. He was the kind of person who could charm a smile out of anyone. The guy whose name was scribbled in notebooks with hopeful hearts drawn beside it. Blake was confident, flirtatious, and utterly out of reach for someone like Jade. So when she caught him watching her in the cafeteria that afternoon, her breath stilled. His gaze lingered a little too long before he smirked and turned back to his friends. Could he have been the one who wrote the letter? No. Impossible. Blake wasn't the type to send love letters. She was the type to collect them. Still, the idea clung to her like ink on a page. As the days passed, more letters found their way into her locker. Each one was filled with lines that made her heart race. You have the kind of eyes that make a person believe in poetry. I wish I had the courage to say this in person, but for now, I hope these words find their way to you. Jade couldn't deny it anymore. She was falling for the mystery writer. Whoever they were, they saw her, truly saw her, in a way no one else had. But the biggest question remained. Who was behind the letters? Determined to uncover the truth, Jade enlisted the help of her best friend, Mia. Together, they devised a plan. They would watch her locker, see who left the next letter. It was foolproof, or so they thought. The next morning, Jade and Mia arrived at school early and took their positions. They watched as students bustled through the hallways, stuffing books into lockers, exchanging greetings. Minutes passed. Then, just as Jade was about to give up, she saw him, Blake Reynolds. Jade's breath hitched as he slid something into her locker, his expression unreadable. When he turned and caught her staring, he hesitated for only a second before flashing one of his signature grins. See you in English, Carter, he said, his voice smooth as ever before, walking away. Jade's fingers trembled as she opened her locker. Inside, nestled between her books, was another letter. But this time, there was something different. This phone number was written at the bottom. Jade stared at the number all day, her stomach in knots. Did she dare call him? What if this was just a game? Blake had a reputation for flirting, but this felt different. Taking a deep breath, she dialed the number late that night. The phone rang twice before his voice came through. I was starting to think you wouldn't call. I almost didn't. Her voice was smaller than she wanted it to be. A soft chuckle. Why? Afraid of me? No, she admitted. Afraid of what this might mean. Silence stretched between them before he spoke again. Quieter this time. You think I'm playing with you, aren't you? Another pause. Then, no, Jade. I wouldn't do that to you. Something in his voice made her believe him. And so, that night, they talked. About books, about dreams, about the expectations people placed on them. He wasn't just the school flirt, there was someone who felt trapped by his own reputation, someone who wanted to be seen for who he really was. And for the first time, Jade let someone in. Their late-night calls became a habit. Each night, they talked for hours, voices hushed under blankets, whispering truths they never spoke aloud. He made her laugh, made her feel seen in a way no one else ever had. And then, one night, he asked, "Will you let me prove this is real?" "How?" "Meet me. Tomorrow night. The library steps." Jade's heart pounded. Was she ready? Maybe. But something told her she had to take the risk. The next evening, Jade arrived at the library steps, nerves coiling in her stomach. The air was cool, the stars blinking overhead. And then, there he was Blake, leaning casually against the railing, hands in his pockets, watching her, like she was the only thing in the world worth seeing. "You came," he said, a slow smile spreading across his face. "I did." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then softly he said, "I meant every word." Jade swallowed hard. "Why me?" Blake took a step closer. "Because you're real. Because you don't care about status or popularity. Because when I see you reading, you look like you're in a world I wish I could be a part of." Her heart stuttered. "Then come in." Blake's smile deepened. And in that moment, Jade knew love wasn't about reputation. It wasn't about popularity. It was about seeing someone, truly seeing them. And for the first time in her life, Jade let herself be seen. As the months passed, their relationship became something beautiful, something unexpected. Blake wasn't just the school flirt anymore. He was the boy who left love letters, who stayed up late talking about dreams, who chose a quiet bookworm over the spotlight. And Jade? She was no longer just the girl with her nose in a book. She was the girl who took a chance on love and discovered that sometimes the best stories aren't the ones we read. They're the ones we write ourselves.